John's driver suffers car damage in what he's calling a pothole apocalypse. And another ATM stolen from a Prince Edward Island gas station.
On the warmer side of the next weather system to affect Atlantic Canada, we can expect to see a mix of snow and rain.
A doctor at St. Martha's Regional Hospital in Antigonish, Nova Scotia, is speaking out tonight, denying that anyone has been refused care or turned away from the facility.
As the world prepares for next week's political about-face in Washington, today Justin Trudeau made Canada's latest preemptive move, reshaping Ottawa's political face on trade, climate change, and more, showing off a new-look cabinet chosen with global powers in mind, China, Russia, and Donald Trump, because after all, it's 2017. The key moves: Chrystia Freeland moves to global affairs. Stéphane Dion is out of that post and out of politics altogether, as is John McCallum, leaving for diplomacy in China. Fittingly, Ahmed Hussein, a former refugee, takes over at immigration. Catherine Cullen now to explain the thinking behind today's focus shakeup. Catherine.
Well, Peter, you've got Mr. Art of the Deal coming into the White House, so why not put a woman with experience on the world stage who just pulled off a huge trade deal with Europe as your face of international relations?
The minister's designate.
They're smiling for now, but the new cabinet picks have all got tough tasks ahead of them. Perhaps none so much as the new Foreign Affairs Minister.
I, Chrystia Freeland.
She's here in part because she showed she could deliver, and she got a tricky trade deal with Europe signed. Chrystia Freeland has lived in the U.S. and written a book taking a critical look at the super rich and the middle class left behind, which might seem to put her at odds with the billionaire in the White House.
Anything you can do to support the middle class and the people who are struggling to join it is going to be good for the economy.
But Trudeau's team believes the struggling middle class is the theme the two governments share. In fact, she's already met with Trump's transition team.
Being able to call each other up on the phone, being able to send emails, and that is something that is really, really important for a Canadian government to be able to do.
The U.S. aside, she's also an outspoken defender of Ukraine, which got her on a list of Canadians banned by the Russian government. Promoting Freeland means Stéphane Dion had to go.
I have offered him a very important senior position that is something that is going to be key for me in the coming years.
Friends say Dion was shocked because he loved the foreign affairs role. He'll leave politics, but hasn't said whether he'll take the senior position he was offered.
Hello.
John McCallum, who was immigration minister, was also offered a new job.
She suggested that I might become Canada's ambassador to China.
But he is delighted about it. Ahmed Hussein will step into his shoes. In this era of Syrian refugees, the anti-immigration sentiment exposed by Brexit and Trump,
I would build a great wall.
There is perhaps a message when the man now in charge of immigration came to Canada as a 16-year-old refugee. But Hussein is quick to point out he's also an immigration lawyer and community activist.
I've always prided myself as a Canadian. I'm also proud of my heritage, but I think the two can work together, and I think Canada is one of the few countries that can actually happen.
So this shuffle is about sending a message and about strategy, all an attempt to try to minimize the bumps in what Trudeau clearly expects will be a challenging year. Peter?
All right, Catherine, thank you. Future dealings with the U.S. may have driven today's shuffle, but another key foreign relationship is at work as well, making John McCallum's appointment to China worth a deeper look. The CBC's Katie Simpson takes on that angle.
John McCallum is one of Justin Trudeau's most experienced members of cabinet, but the immigration minister, who was trusted to oversee the welcome of thousands of Syrian refugees, is ready to embrace his new role.
Much of Canada's future lies in our dealings with China.
Expanding Ottawa's relationship with Beijing has been a priority for the Trudeau government, and McCallum's appointment is seen as a continuation of that strategy.
By putting somebody who is so trusted and known on the file and someone so senior, it sends a signal to the Chinese side that the relationship is of significant value.
I make this promise.
As the U.S. president-elect pushes a Buy American protectionist agenda, this may seem like the right time for Ottawa to cozy up to Beijing and do more trade with China. But this former ambassador says Canada must tread carefully.
And our future is much more closely tied to the future, even of a United States that is sort of profoundly unpredictable at the moment. That's really where we belong.
The opposition is wishing McCallum luck in his position, but also warns the soon-to-be ambassador needs to focus on more than just trade.
Talk directly and honestly and frankly to the Chinese about Canadians' concern about human rights abuse.
McCallum's appointment comes not long after both sides agreed to have preliminary talks about a possible free trade agreement. And by picking an ambassador who has the Prime Minister's ear, expectations are high on all sides that those talks will progress. Katie Simpson, CBC News, Ottawa.
The Prime Minister's appointment of Chrystia Freeland as Foreign Affairs Minister is a strategic move as Ottawa prepares for the Trump administration. But it could also impact relations with another world player, Russia. Susan Ormiston has that angle from Moscow tonight. Susan.
Peter, Freeland is barred from Russia because in their eyes, she's seen as an irritant in many roles. First, as an activist, Canadian-Ukrainian, fighting for an independent Ukraine. Second, as a foreign journalist working inside Russia in the 1990s, often critical of the Kremlin. And now as a powerful cabinet minister who's urging her colleagues not to go soft on Russian sanctions as long as they carry out their proxy war in East Ukraine and occupy Crimea. The Kremlin sees Freeland as actively promoting politics and people it considers threats. They want those sanctions lifted, and that's hard to see, even if Putin can convince Trump to drop the American ones. Last year, he told us that relations with the new Trudeau government were positive and Russia would work with Canada with pleasure, he said. Tonight, the Russian embassy in Ottawa said it hopes Canada will keep its intent to re-engage. And Freeland said she was a strong supporter of the government's view to engage with all countries, including Russia.
And so I feel with my background in Russia, I am going to be well positioned to be a member of our government's engagement there.
That will be tricky, given that she's not welcome here. On the upside, she knows Russia from the inside, speaks Russian, very helpful to decipher the messages coming out of the Kremlin, even if she has to do it from the outside, Peter.
All right, Susan, thank you. Russia banned 12 other Canadians in 2014, including Andrew Scheer, who's now in the race for Conservative leader, and former NDP Member of Parliament Paul Dewar. The Canadian Foreign Affairs Minister has not visited Russia in nearly 4 years. John Baird attended a G20 summit with Stephen Harper in 2013. Today's Ottawa Shuffle also involves some key domestic portfolios. Mariam Monsef has been shifted to status of women. Karina Gould takes over the troubled Democratic Institutions file. At Labour, Patty Hajdu replaces Marianne Mihaichuk, and Francois-Philippe Champagne assumes the international trade role.